What's good, fam? It's your boy Jorge. Welcome back to another episode of Hanging with the Boys. If you guys watched the movie Forrest Gump, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Forrest Gump is involved in everything. Like, he's at the White House, he's playing football, he's in war. It's crazy. So I heard this term before, the Forrest Gump of something. So today, as my guest, I have the Forrest Gump of motocross or dirt bikes. I got Cliff Campbell in the house.
What's up, man?
What's going on?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. It's been doing this a long time, and you're finally on.
I know. Dude, the Forrest Gump analogy is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I didn't, I want to explain it because it's like really cool. I heard it before, like the Forrest Gump of hip hop. This one guy that's always been everywhere. He's like a DJ doing all this. I'm like, dude, Cliff is like the Forrest Gump of moto sports because you've done so much stuff. And that's why obviously I wanted to have you on so we could talk about some things. But also I did, Forrest Gump is kind of on the spectrum, so I don't want people thinking that you're that.
Yeah, I was going to go there next. I'm like, yeah. So do I fall in that category too, or just done a lot of things?
Yeah, you just done a lot of things. Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah. How's life treating you?
That's good, man. Busy. Got a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Just starting to ride dirt bikes. So that's kind of building the anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It got me back to working on them a little bit more. So not that a 4-year-old needs factory bike or nothing, but it's fun. It made it fun again.
I was thinking about that. Your kid's going to have the baddest bikes.
That's what everyone's
of all
been
time.
Saying. There's a lot of mechanics though that I worked with that have kids that could, could say the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think we have more fun with it than what it was when it was our job,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they might be even better than anything I built in the past for any athlete.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you brought that up. And first thing you said, but how is that life going?
It's good. I mean, I only have one. It's crazy, like how you guys and other people I've grown up with have multiples. You don't really get it till you're there. People tell you, "Oh, just wait till you have kids." You're like, "Yeah, whatever."
Yeah.
My life's crazy busy anyway. Like, I'm good. Then you have one, and you're like, "Wow, this is nuts."
Yeah.
And it feels like I blink of an eye. It feels like he was just born yesterday, and now he's 4.
Yeah. That is pretty crazy.
So I know I'm getting older faster now for some reason.
Yeah, and my it's probably because we're so much busier, so the time doesn't last for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it flies. But when you're a little kid, you don't worry about nothing, so you're just, the time never flies for you.
Feels forever like, man, I just want to drive a car. I just want to be 16. I just want to be 18.
Yeah.
And it's gone. Then you're 44.
So my oldest is 10, and then my other one's 7. So we're getting up there.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It does, like, I love seeing when you guys post about your kid and racing and stuff. But what kind of made you, because you've been around the sport of motocross, freestyle motocross and everything for so long, and you've seen the really, really bads, you've seen the in-between, and you've seen like the pinnacle, the highest achievements that you can get in that sport or whichever sport. But what made you be like, yeah, it's cool for my son to do it?
I wasn't going to go down the dirt bike road because of what you said, and I've seen a lot, lost a lot of friends and seen the injuries, and at any minute it can change. But dude, it's a product of your environment. I think I didn't even ask him if he wanted to ride a bike, but everything in my shop, and there's dirt bike stuff and pictures, and then they ask, and then he wanted to ride. But I mean, he's only on a PW50. Like, he's not going any speed to, granted, they can all get hurt.
Yeah.
You fall just the right way. But like I told my wife, I'm like, because he's real stoked on it now. I want to be a dirt bike rider when I grow up. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But I was like, if he wants to ride, we'll do it. But when the speeds start getting gnarly, like, might do minis, hit some local races, all that stuff, see how good he is or not good, but have fun with it. Because being around a long time, went to a lot of amateur nationals, and I despised mini dads. Yeah. Like making your kids cry, trying to live through your kid. So I know I was, going to be hard on myself not to go that route. But if he wants to ride right now, dude, screw it, be a boy. It's no different than if I go teach him how to snowboard or whatever, so but it's easy for me because I know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can teach the fundamentals. You know, I can teach, like, if I go try to teach them jujitsu or something, I'm not going to know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it just kind of, you can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
It lines up and you just keep going with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had that same stuff around the house and everything. You see my garage and everything. But my kids don't really care for it, which is fine. But I want them to do something. So sometimes I just raced this past weekend actually at Fernley.
I saw that.
So I was like, wouldn't it be cool if one of you guys race? So I'm not just there for me. Like, I'll race too, but I want to be there for when it's your time to race too.
Right.
And they're like, nah, it's cool. Like, all right. You know, so it's stuff like that. Like, it's, I don't know, it might be like in the blood or something.
Yeah. And it's like, you want to give them that experience, because I know, you know, the short time I did race before I became a mechanic, like, there's stuff the sport teaches you that you can't learn in school or even from other sports, you know? Like, I think it's good for kids to compete like that at a young age, you know?
Solo.
Yeah, solo. Not by team. Yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Teams are really good for different things, but the thing I got out of it when I was young and watching other young kids is that, like, that confidence building, you know, like, he'll go to daycare now, you know, and tell everyone about how he rode dirt bikes this weekend. They're like, what? You know, it's crazy to them and some of the other parents that are like, dang, you guys do that? You know, like, but it's, like I said, it's 50s, it's whatever, but that's all he talks about. Yeah. You know, he's
when he has some buddies that do the same.
Yeah. So luckily, dudes we grew up racing, like Nate Tierney and them around here, all have kids the same age, and now they're a little pack. Yeah. They're just like we were, but like in middle school, but they're already forming their little packs. And that's a great thing too. Like, it brings friendships, you know, and then they go out and they compete with each other. Like, who's going to go faster? And I'm going to pass him here, and just learning things and making them use their mind and their body to work.
Yeah. I just saw this past weekend, I believe it was, the Berlews up in Jersey. Derek's kid race, and I think he did pretty good. He might have won his race on a PW50. And coming off the track, dude, there was both his cousins, friends, and all that cheering him on, like, so pumped that he did good. And I'm like, dude, that's amazing. And for a kid, he probably feels so special. Yeah, you know,
you don't get that as a kid in many other places or sports, you know. So yeah, they're on a different level with it. Yeah. Both of the Berlews kids are really good for how young they are. You know, I think Goat's kid, we call Derek's brother Goat, right? Yeah. His kid got 8th at Loretta's last year in PW, and that's like the best in the world. Yeah. You know, so they're on a different level. I don't want to be at that level. I'm actually helping them out a little bit with bike setup stuff.
So you don't want to be at that level yet, or kind of ever?
Kind of ever. Dude, like I said, I'm scared of the sport now too, because I've seen so much, you know? Oh, yeah. And it's not if, it's when. Yeah. And how bad is it going to be, you know? Granted, you could be walking down the street, people say.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything can happen. Yeah. But your chances are a lot higher you ride a dirt bike. You're going to get hurt. Yeah. And now being the dad, like, thinking about him, being in some of the situations I was in, like watching him take off in a care flight or hospital bed, dude, it scares the shit out of me. Oh, yeah. So hopefully he takes to something else. I would like him to focus on golf, but his attention span is like, it ain't there yet. Yeah. So
yeah, he's 4. So next year he'll be in first kindergarten.
Kindergarten, yeah.
Give you some time.
Yeah, it'll be an experience, I'm sure. I'm gonna lean on you guys to say, you know, what's next. Yeah. What am I getting into now?
Yeah. No, it gets better, dude. It gets better, and then it probably gets worse when they become teenagers.
Oh yeah, I've thought about that.
You know, but
you know how you were, right?
Yeah.
But I have another friend, Chad Geeb, who I did a lot of wrenching with. He's got kids in that era right now, and he calls me every day. He's like, dude, they know everything. Oh yeah. He asks me questions about what to do here, what to do that, and then he does the opposite. He's like, dude, so pissed off, you know? And I'm like, oh, great. So that's what I got to look forward to.
Yeah. But at least, like, the thing you really got to wrap around your head is that kind of all kids are the same. Because my kid does some dumb shit sometimes, and I'm like, man.
Dude, why?
Yeah. And then I'll see some other parent saying the same thing, and my kid doesn't know that kid, so it's not like they hang out. And I'm like, oh, it's all kids.
Yeah.
So as long as you like understand that all kids do the same stupid stuff, because when you're little, I don't think you realize that you did that. But now as a parent, you kind of get bummed out sometimes. I'm like, dude, why is my kid doing that? Or why is he acting like that? That's so weird. Like something I did, or what can I change? And then it's like, no, well, every kid his age is doing the same thing. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of why social media is cool too. Like you see, like the toddler phase is gnarly. They're mean, dude.
Yeah.
They're full just mean. And you're like, man, are we doing something wrong? But then you see like the memes and everything, like of the toddler phase and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, everyone does it.
Yeah, everyone goes through
So you're
it.
like, oh man, I might not be that out of the ballpark on this one.
Yeah. So as a parent, you think you're doing something wrong, but really you're doing just fine.
Yeah, because you're hyper focused on it. Like raising a kid, you don't know what you're doing, and you're like, well, on your first one, right?
Yeah.
You're like, man, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Should I be doing this, that? And then you see other people's experience. You're like, yeah, we're not too bad.
Yeah. So that's good.
As long as I can keep it there, it'll be all right.
Yeah. So this might be a tough question, but so everything you've done in your entire life till now, if you were to name this podcast something, what would you name it? As far as the title of like having you on.
Man, I don't know. Good question. Tough. Because when you hit me up to do it, I'm like, man, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
You know?
I was surprised you said yes like that easy though.
Well, it's cool doing them. Like I did Stone Cold's podcast and stuff, and it was fun. So I was like, yeah, I'll jump on there. And I figured you'd be good host and have criteria ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because, like I've been into the interviewing, kind of specific things, but then when you have someone like you, it's like that tells me what you,
excuse me,
what you think. Like what do you?
I don't know. Like you said, I've been since moto's kind of fizzled. I've dabbled in so many things. You know, it's like I don't know. I really don't know. Mostly if someone wants to talk to me, it's about like the moto thing, because I mean that's not bragging or whatever, but I did do a lot and work for a lot of people that went to high levels in the sport. So it's some people are interested by it and some aren't. Like had a great interview with the guy from Europe that's writing the book of FMX.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like honored, that he reached out and he kind of already knew, like researched, like, yeah, you work for Tony Hawk and Brian Deegan and all these guys, but I want to talk. I'm like, oh, that's cool, So that was fun, but I don't know. Maybe it's something like that, like the history of something.
Moto, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, going off of that, so there's two categories here because you've done in both and successful in both. So that's in racing, whether it's Supercross or just outdoors or whatever, and then obviously in FMX with like Mike Mason. Give me your fondest moment in both.
Ooh.
In racing and then in FMX.
I think in racing, man, it was like the beginning of Mason's career when we did arena cross.
Okay.
It was so like spontaneous how it happened and like a go for it kind of thing. And I owe a lot to him for how my career went after he was done racing, because of the people I met along the way, right? Because of him and him taking me on the road. But I think there's so many single memories.
Yeah.
That's tough. But I think that time, like I worked for different Supercross teams and different riders, and I think as a mechanic, my best result, 450 main or 250 main back then, whatever you call it, 8th place at A1, working for top 10 guys. That was cool. But that first year taking off, I was 19, he was 18, and we had like a few $100. And he's like, I'm going to go till I'm totally broke.
Yeah.
He's like, I got a few $100, but if I make one main in Des Moines at the opening round out of 4 mains back then, we can go to New York.
Yeah.
And then if I go there, we can keep going, So that whole year was like, dude, life changing. It was so cool. Just traveling the country in a van, places you never been. I'd traveled some doing amateur racing before that. But dude, it was like all on us, get in the van and go.
Yeah.
And we're driving off like Road Atlas back then.
Yeah.
We got lost so many times, like all those kinds of stories, the van getting broken into and crap like that. But I think that first year of it was probably the best time that we had.
In your racing
in the
career.
racing part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then freestyle part of it, hands down, there's no comparison, was the Tony Hawk Tour.
Oh, okay.
When that launched, and I got the call to come be the guy for that, and especially at that time, it was insane.
Yeah, kind of talk me through that, just like the beginning of it and kind of what the Tony Hawk Tour was.
So it was kind of a brainchild by Tony and a good buddy of mine named Carl Harris. He did all like at the time for MTV, like the sports and music festivals, and would set different things up, action sports type stuff. It was getting really big, X Games was taking off.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, 02, 03. And they brewed this thing up. They were going to do an arena tour, a big arena tour with skate, BMX, and moto. But they wanted to like tour it, not like set it up on a weekend, tear it down and go to the next city. It was 37 stops in 6 weeks.
Okay.
And everyone's like, you can't pull this off. And he partnered up with some big touring production guys. They were doing like Britney Spears, NSYNC, those types of tours at the time. And he was going to throw 5 bands in, like headlining bands, like Offspring, bands like that, on top of everything else. So it was massive. And at the time, there's a documentary on it that's really cool. But at the time, it was the largest touring production in the United States, and it was based on action sports.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's like, dude, you're nuts. So he went to this place. They got a ramp system built. Tony spent like $1 million to have this ramp system they could break down, take with them. Turned out it was the world's most perfect ramp. Because it was all CNC'd. Everything else was, at the time was wood. They had jigs for stuff, but the transitions, everything were perfect. So he still has that ramp in a warehouse set up in Oceanside today. But anyway, they got this thing off the ground. We rehearsed for like 14 days. Then it hit the road. Dude, it was like 32 semis and 7 tour buses. And we went on the road and did these big basketball arenas, and for me, like coming off the racing thing, because freestyle was kind of just getting started.
Okay, so this was kind of before.
Yeah, this was 2002. Freestyle was going, and there were some names in it, already, and there were some championships. Like our good buddy Dustin Miller had just won the IFMA championship, so they brought him on tour. We had Carey Hart. The first year it was Carey Hart, Miller, Clifford Adaptante, and Mike Sinkmars, who later passed away. But and then there was 3 years of it. They later brought Deegan, Feist. They had some headliners in there. But dude, it was nuts. It was completely nuts. I'd never been a part of something like that. Never seen how touring worked.
Yeah.
Like real tours, like athlete catering and different stuff.
Yeah.
And just the cool parts of it, and then ended up making, pretty good friends with Tony and everything. And then he was traveling back and forth. Everyone else was kind of on the road. And then we'd have a day off. Athletes would go home. I'd stay on the road, and then it all like stars aligned one time. And Tony's like, hey, come with me tonight. We're going to fly to New York in the jet. I'm like, okay. He had a private jet through Activision, because his video games were huge, I'm like, okay. So I got to experience that for the first time. I'm like 22 years old, you know? So it was just like, from, being in Gardnerville down here to like, rock star stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just working on bikes, getting to do all this stuff. And at the time there's like factory mechanics and all that like pinnacle of the sport, like for what I was trying to do, like not getting to do any of this, so I'm like, right there, my mind was made up. I'm like, I'm gonna ride this freestyle thing.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of ingrained as the guy because I had like the first big gig, you know. So then I would get calls for different tours and ended up doing a ton of tours.
Yeah. People knew you. So in that tour, you actually just worked on the bikes, or they had you do other stuff?
So I was working on the bikes, and then they named me the athlete equipment manager. Mm-hmm. So what my job was to do was not only get bikes prepped and ready and tuned for wherever we were at. I would put all like skate dude stuff, BMX dude stuff in their locker rooms. And I had a helper for that. This other dude, he was like an intern. So he would basically do that, and then I'd roll my tool carts out, get bikes set up, all that. But anything like athlete equipment, you know, dirt bikes, bicycles, skateboards, I would be in charge of all that, making sure they made it from stop to stop.
Yeah. Have you seen the football guys that do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they have a new, you know, rookie coming in. They're like, all right, size 13 shoe, and they're over there in like the whole Nike section getting shoe. It's so sick.
Yeah, it wasn't quite on that
like
level.
that, yeah.
Like I just had to like make sure Matt Hoffman's bicycle was actually in the truck.
Yeah.
You know, and roll it out. Stuff like that. But yeah, that's like next level stuff.
Hey, is Hoffman still alive?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
These days you just forget. And
The Condor, yeah. He was a veteran back then, you know, and kind of pushing it. But man,
So you met a lot of cool people, even just not in moto, but just in skating and BMX through that tour.
a lot, yeah. And then, you know, later on going to X Games, I think I did X Games 14 years straight. You know, I would see all those guys and we'd reunite. That tour went for 3 years. But it was like seasonal, you know, it was, like I said, it was, you know, 6-7 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And then everyone go off, do their own thing. But everyone would get back together at X Games and everyone would see each other because we were like a touring family, you know?
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, and then worked with a lot of cool guys. And then the memorable ones too, like I was just telling someone about this the other day, like legends like Dave Mira, Kevin Robinson, Mike Sinkmars, they all passed away, you know, and it's like, it hits you. You're like, man, I shared a bus with those. You get tight with people. Yeah. And then that, you know, life stuff happens. You're like, kind of hits you different. But yeah, going back, that was the pinnacle of anything I did in freestyle. Like
dude, and that's
winning
like
gold medals with athletes, stuff like that. Like that was, and at the time, everyone wanted to be on that tour. Like when Tony launched that thing, like, dude, people were like, and he paid everyone good.
I was about to say that. They probably got paid so good and everything.
So good, yeah, so good. He did it right. Like, he took care. He had done it for so long. He's like, I want these guys to be taken care of the way they should. And he did. From everyone from the lighting guys all the way to, you know, himself and the name athletes and the big bands that were on, you know. So he took care of everyone. Wanted to do that tour. Yeah. It was sick.
That's so wild because that's from, like you said, coming from roughing it out, going to arena cross, trying to make something with Mason there to your kind of next step was that the biggest. Crazy. You just got thrown into the biggest thing.
I was like, I would think about it all the time too. I'd be laying in the bunk of a, you know, brand new Prevost. You know, I'm like, man, it was like 2 years ago. I was in a shitty van with Mace sleeping in the back. You know, doing our thing. But those were experiences that were just as fun, just as memorable. But it's, you look back and the steps you take, you know, and then it comes full circle. And then I go get another job with a race team and you're grinding it out and you're at the test track and whatever. And you're like, man, this ain't like the Hawk Tour. And I, you know, you try to tell people about it and explain it, but you can't explain it. Yeah. It was so sick. It was unreal.
Huh. That's crazy. It just sets you up. And that's why I didn't expect you to say that. I kind of thought something other than that, but just to show you how big that was, I guess, huh?
It was. It definitely was, man. Like I said, the whole thing was such a monster, and like just seeing it take place, you know, like, because I'm like really interested in anything mechanical, you know, so I'm watching the lighting and sound guys raise these trusses and build this thing that, dude, they got like 6 hours to load in before doors open. Yeah. And they get this stuff done, and you're like, wow, like, that's that's incredible. And it wouldn't happen without those guys. And you'd see Tony walking the floor, dude, like fist bumping people.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, that's cool. What, like he could be at the hotel or, you know, whatever, or fly in showtime.
Yeah.
You know, he's got a private jet, but he's there like in the trenches with everyone just letting him know. You know?
That's cool.
It was sweet.
Yeah.
I respect him for that.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems like a cool dude. He does a lot of podcasts nowadays.
Yep.
So he like brings out little stories like you're saying and stuff. And that's what's, I think, very valuable about podcasts, just having people on and they could tell stories like that and they can like live on forever through those podcasts. And so it's cool to see him doing all that. I saw that they're redoing his game. It's coming out soon. Yeah.
Yeah. That's insane.
That was a wild time too when his game came out.
Dude, and at the time, I mean, I'm sure it's public knowledge now or whatever, but those were like selling millions of copies, right? Like tens of millions of copies worldwide. And I had heard from a source that would know, like his royalty was $1 a game.
Damn.
So he was, you know, even Sean Palmer, when they had Palmer's Pro Snowboarder, wasn't Tony Hawk's Pro Skateboarder, but same Activision made it, whatever. And he had like an 80-cent royalty thing, but his sold, you know, just under 1 million. Tony's was doing tens of millions.
Yeah.
And there was like 5 of them.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And they got better too, though.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like the first one was like the best one. They each got better. That's why they sold so good.
It was nuts too, because me and Mace were sitting in one of our buddies that we traveled with for Arena Cross, one of those Arena Cross years. We were sitting there playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater when we got the phone call that tour was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And Mace knew the dude through Dustin Miller, because Dustin Miller at the time had a DC deal, DC Shoes, and Carl Harris was linked with them. And Carl called, and we heard about this tour, and then Carl had heard about me through Miller, because obviously people that don't know, I worked for Miller for a long time, and he's who got me actually the first start, you know, like amateur racing and stuff. His dad taught me a lot, you know, mechanical wise and stuff. Probably still one of the best mechanics I know.
Yeah.
But he got the call. So going forward, I'm sitting there on Tony Hawk's tour, and it's sponsored by Activision. I'm like, dude, I was playing this game when I got the call.
Yeah, now you're getting paid by them, kind of.
Yeah, just wild how stuff happens, right? Like when you look back at it, it moved so fast. Then you don't even have time to.
Yeah, that's the crazy
digest it, but it's cool. I mean, you know, I always talk about it, and I have stuff hanging in my shop from that tour, and it's like that was cool.
Yeah, good memories. Then you go from that to. Did you go that straight into X Games, or did you go straight into like race teams? You did that Subway.
Yeah, worked for Subway, Coca-Cola, Honda in the 2005 season, but I had done a few things before that, like. Freestyle was kind of taken off, and I had done like some random events with Miller, but there wasn't really like, no one needed a full-time mechanic then.
Right.
And I remember IFMAs had started, and me and Mace were gearing up for the next season of Arena Cross in 2002, and he got an invite to go to Spokane for an IFMA event, and we went up there, and I was his mechanic for the next year of Arena Cross, but went there, and it was like, dude, you could really see all these dudes needed help. Everyone had new bikes at the time. The only one that had a full-time mechanic at the time was Mike Jones.
Okay.
And he had Kibby. This dude we call Kibby, and he ended up being the motor guy for a lot of years at Factory Connection at Geico Honda.
Oh, wow.
But he was with Mike Jones at the time. He was an old race mechanic. But Jones, kind of being an old racer, had it figured out. Like, dude, you need a guy.
Yeah.
You don't want to worry about nuts and bolts when you're, you know, doing this kind of
especially,
stuff.
Yeah, especially they're experimenting with like the bikes, like different little things that they could do to them for freestyle, right? It wasn't just like a race bike.
Yeah, they're cutting them out and starting to do new things at that point. That was probably the first time I met Nate Adams, who I ended up later working for.
Yeah.
He got a brand new Honda, didn't know how to jet it. You know, I had Mace's bikes all figured out, sounded good.
Yeah, there was 2 strokes back then.
Yeah, two strokes. So I'm jetting all these dudes' bikes at the event, you know, fixing fork seals and stuff, and it was fun. It was cool, but I think that was a transition where freestyle started getting serious, and people were like, yeah, we should probably bring guys on.
Yeah, I went from IFMX or whatever they're called to like gravity games and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I did some early gravity games, and then I actually went back to moto, and in 03, I was going to do the outdoor series with Sean Palmer, and we moved to Ricky Carmichael's house, the goat farm, and we were training out there, and he had lost a sponsor. We were 4 months into training, actually had Mace come out there and ride with us. And we were a few months deep into training, and he went to New York for a meeting about a sponsor, and they pulled it. And he came back from New York, and he's like, we're going home.
Really?
I'm like, damn it. Living at the farm, I was getting close with Ricky. I actually started working on Ricky's practice bikes. This is before dudes had practice bike mechanics. His dad was doing it, and he'd fall asleep just standing there,
Yeah.
Big Rick, he was cool. But started working on Carmichael's practice bikes for him, like at the ranch. I was digging it. I was like,
250 at the time still? Yeah.
Honda 250.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's one of his last years at Honda. So it was cool. Another good experience, basically living on property with the greatest of all time.
Yeah, give me a story about Ricky. Because from you and Mace talking about that, I kind of know like a little bit about Ricky as far as like I wouldn't consider him the GOAT personally. I'm a James Stewart fan.
Yeah.
So as far as like when it comes to like I think raw skills on a bike, I prefer James. But then all the accomplishments and everything is Ricky.
Yeah.
But you guys always expressed that like Ricky wasn't like necessarily the talented one. It's just his work ethic was just above everyone else. It's kind of like a Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So that made him put him where he is now, like the GOAT.
Yeah, and I saw it firsthand. Like during that era when he was changing the game with training, he had hired Eldon Baker.
Okay.
He was living in Florida. He was a South African cyclist. And had brought him in, and he'll admit to you right now, I asked him straight up, he was not the most talented guy.
Yeah.
But he put in such gnarly work that he outworked the talented guy.
Yeah.
And maintained consistent and not got injuries. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like, is there anyone badder on a bike than James Stewart? No.
I don't think so.
I don't even think, like, people are starting to argue Jet and all this stuff. I'm like, he didn't do the wow things.
No.
He's
not yet, at least.
He's gnarly, but James came out on 125 and was doing unreal.
Yeah.
But Ricky had that grind. He was up at 5. They would do a 70-mile cycle ride. Then he'd come to the ranch and he'd do his laps. He'd do his sprints. He hired a nutritionist. Like, he made moto go from that 90s, like McGrath, Emig era where they were, partying and could get away with it, which was cool and fun. Then Ricky ruined everything.
Yeah.
He came in and you could not do that anymore if you wanted to win. Like, so, and McGrath says, once he came in, he's like, dude.
Ricky made it to an actual sport.
Yeah. Like, and it was a physically demanding sport before, outdoors and everything. And it was still way gnarly. But now, Ricky just took the fun out of it.
Yeah.
You can't even have fun in the off season. You maybe have 2 weeks and then you're back to training. Unless, because that dude in Tallahassee's doing it.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Settle for second?
Yeah.
A lot of people did, But he changed the game, and that was cool going out there. And Palmer's mentality, he was good friends with them. Not everyone got to go to the ranch those days.
Right.
And be in the shop like we were while they were testing and everything, So it was cool to see it all and, become friends with Ricky a little bit, get to work on his bikes, It's always something I can say I did, had a little bit of something to do with the GOAT, at one time. But it was cool. And then, Palmer's mentality is like, I want to go train like that with the best. And, it was starting to pick up, and then, lost funding and we came home.
Damn.
So then I went the next season. I forget what I did the rest of that summer, probably freestyle stuff. I think I went to X Games with Miller and did some stuff. And then that next season I went and did Supercross with Subway Honda. And now the TV guy, Jason Thomas, I was his mechanic over there. It started out with Jeff Gibson, and then he got hurt, broke his neck in Indy.
Oh, wow.
And then they moved me over to Thomas. So another good time. That was a fun team. It was low key. it had some Honda support, but it wasn't like we were getting forced to do anything by corporate, Honda, so we could do our own thing. And me and my other buddy, Mikey C, were like the leads. So all development and decisions on bikes, motors, whatever came through us. So it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2-stroke still at that time?
Those were 450s.
Oh, 450s.
Those were right when they were coming in. So that year in 05, our team was on them. Like some of the veteran guys like Kyle Lewis, all them, they were on them. It was the last year Ricky and Chad and James rode 2-stroke 250s.
Damn.
And that was crazy too. And I got to apologize for the dudes I worked for that year because, dude, you had that series popping off and you had Wyndham was on a 450. You had Wyndham, McGrath was in there on a 2-stroke. Pastrana was in there on a 2-stroke. Then you had James, Ricky, and Chad on 2-strokes. You still had the floaters, the wild cards like Tim Ferry, David Villeman. Dude, I missed so many pit board signals because I was watching the race. I was watching them dudes battle, Stewart, tea kettle somewhere.
Yeah.
But, dude, I was like, dudes would come in. You didn't give me lap time on halfway. I'm like, dude, there was a race going on. You were in 12th, bro. Like, I got to, dude, this was history right here.
Yeah.
One of the best times of the sport, So that was fun. That was a fun season.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you, when did you start doing the H&H team?
That was 08. No. So Kerry started a supermoto team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I had known Kerry from the Hawk Tour. And he needed people to help. So he came to me for supermoto to be his mechanic and figure out this whole supermoto. It was supposed to be the new thing. Right. And I had done some supermoto stuff the year before with, there's so many things that overlap. I think that's what I did after Ricky's. So I did some supermoto stuff before with Palmer and Mike Sinkmars through our buddy Carl Harris that started the Hawk Tour.
Yeah.
Right. So we had some funding from Honda of Troy.
Oh, okay.
And we went and did some supermoto. We didn't do nothing the next season. I don't think either guy liked it. Sink wasn't really into it, and Palmer was like, whatever. I think he was still doing other stuff at the time. So Hart wanted to start a full team, and one of his buddies was a rider, and we had this other dude, Steve Drew, that was really good at it. So he brought me on, and I actually moved the whole operation to here to Carson City and shared a shop. Mace helped me out with it because Mace's freestyle career was really taking off at the time.
Yeah.
He had signed his Rockstar deal, which to settle any argument, I've had so many bar bets on this. We'll clear it up right now. Mike Mason was the first Rockstar athlete ever signed.
Oh, yeah? People arguing with you?
Oh, dude, Scott Sepkovic that did the Jason Lawrence deal and the Rockstar Suzuki deal bet me $5,000 that he brought Rockstar into moto.
Okay.
I'm like, no, dude. Mason was approached at a Fox demo in Huntington Beach in 05. They wanted to get into action sports.
Yeah, I was there.
I know, dude. Yeah. So anyway, that was off topic.
Yeah.
But
first athlete
ever
for Rockstar.
For Rockstar, yeah. And all these agents have worked on all these deals, whatever. But he was the first signed paid guy.
Yeah.
100%. I've confirmed it with every Rockstar corporate guy, and they still don't believe me.
Yeah.
Mike Mason, dude, no way. I was like, okay, whatever. And he went on to have a good tenure with him, dude.
Yeah.
Like, rode for him for a decade.
And they've fallen off as far as energy.
I talked to some old contacts from there. I don't know how good their product is. I never even drank the stuff when I was always a Red Bull guy.
Yeah.
Like, we had cases and cases of Rockstar. Worked for a lot of Monster guys too. Dude, it's just, you can't beat a stock Red Bull.
Oh, yeah.
So
I agree.
So I brought Hart's whole operation here for Supermoto. It was in my shop in Carson City, and Mace had a space there, and Hart and Mason split rent. And I ran everything out of there every day. So we went and did Supermoto, and then actually some stuff went down. I had quit, but some of the guys I got jobs for on the team stayed going. And then Mace was always a Hart and Huntington guy. Him and Kerry had a good relationship at the time, and he was getting paid for wearing the clothing and, being one of their freestyle guys.
Yeah.
So then in 08, I had stopped working for Kerry. We were still friends. Stopped doing the supermoto stuff. And then in 2008, we actually moved to Vegas. Me and Vincent Blair moved to Vegas, and Hart's supermoto team had spilled over into a supercross team.
Yeah.
And they had a building there, everything. And that's where I started working on Mesa's bikes out of their building over there. And that's where I met one of my best friends today. Chad Geeb was a mechanic over there for Kerry's brother.
Oh, okay.
That passed away.
Yeah.
So their supercross team started getting bigger, and they brought on Kenny Watson to be team manager and stuff. And me and Kenny known each other forever. And so I started going in there just being practice bike and parts, because now at this time the Nuclear Cowboys tour had started, and I got the call to be the freestyle mechanic for that.
Yeah.
So I'd go do H&H during the week, and then I'd fly out and go do Nuclear Cowboys for Feld on the weekends. Yeah. For 3 years or so. Yeah. So that's how I got involved with H&H, the team, through meeting Kerry through Tony Hawk Tour.
Were you ever one of the main mechanics for the racers? Because they had Chris Blows, they had
Ivan Tedesco,
Hansen.
They had a good run there for a little bit, but no, I was never a traveling race mechanic for that team because I was doing other freestyle stuff. So the last year of it, I was slated. I was going to go back and do Supercross again with Josh Hill. I'd been doing some stuff with them, and I was going to do the whole season again with Hill. And then a lot of stuff changed with the team. That's when RCH started.
Oh, okay.
So Ricky came in, partnered with Kerry, did the Suzuki deal. They took the whole team to SoCal. And I was like, me and Guy both were like, we're not going to SoCal.
Yeah.
So that was the end of it. And then I think that team went 2-3 years after that, and they folded up.
Yeah.
So that was like could have done a lot more racing, whatever, but that was always a deal breaker for me. I hated SoCal. I just never wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I could have,
Yeah.
And like when our good buddy Dang, who people know was the team manager for Yamaha Troy, Jason Lawrence, like I helped them. I would go down there, help Dang make decisions on certain stuff, whatever, but was always kind of, in the background. And dude, there was so much freestyle stuff going on.
Yeah.
There was no need for me to go to the Supercross races on the weekend.
Yeah, dude, that was the mecca, the time to be in freestyle.
Dude, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was getting paid good money. I had multiple athletes I went to X Fighters one year, and I
was going to ask you that. When did X Fighters start between all that stuff?
Oh, dude, X Fighters had to have been around that same time to start. I didn't do any of the first kickoff year of it when like Pastrana, I think they only had like one in Mexico City.
Oh yeah.
And then it became a series. Then they did like Mexico City and Madrid. They kept the bowl arenas.
Yeah.
And then it became a series where it started going to all these exotic locations. But one year I went to Mexico City, and I had 3 guys I was working for that whole year: Brian Deegan, Nate Adams, and Mason. So I had to take a buddy with me to help me do it all.
Yeah.
And it was, if anyone knows, like Mexico City sits at 8,000 feet. We're all on 2-strokes back then. And the freestyle thing, you would travel with your parts, and you would just get a bike there, and you'd have to build it. Well, that particular city and venue, you struggled with power because it was 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
So, man, we took motors and all this stuff. So I had not only one guy, I had 3 guys. So I had to bring a buddy with me that Mace knew. I'm like, dude, I'll prep it. Just push Mace's bike around. We'll be good. We'll have fun, whatever. But it was like the most stressful event because the way the bikes run. Nate was a contender to win. Mace was a top 5 guy at the time. And Deegan they brought in as like, he was kind of tapering off at the time. They just brought him in for full ticket sale. Yeah. Full name.
The name, yeah.
So I knew he probably wasn't going to make the final. So come final time, I could, my job would be a little bit easier. But still, you got to show up, build all 3. And then when the night's done, tear all 3 down, pack them back up, Yeah. But I don't know how it happened. It just became like I was one of the only guys that world knew that was a full-time mechanic that was any good, I guess, because, dude, that's how I ended up working for so many guys.
Yeah.
It just, I'd get the call to go here, go there, and whatever, like literally traveled the world with Mace, Adam Jones for a good amount, Nate Adams, Twitch. I had a 3-year run with Twitch. Dude, tons of guys, and it was crazy how. And then they'd call me for the tours, you know.
Yeah. How was Deegan back then? I don't know if you see his stuff now with his kid, their YouTube channel and stuff, but I had a run in with Deegan back in the day with Mace. Wasn't like my favorite guy. I was like, you know, I don't really care. But then now I watch his like YouTube channel, and you could tell he's changed, kind of what he was back then. And you know, he's that father now, and his kids are killing it and stuff. So it's kind of funny to see that. So what was your experience with him then and then now?
He was that guy you see now, like behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
Super good dude. Always took care of you. Never had to worry about, you know, paying you well or, you know, getting you swag or anything. He always was already thinking about it. He was a super good dude. Deegan's deal was he's actually he's a genius in marketing. He really is. And that was all for show.
Yeah.
And, you know, he ended up selling militia to La Jolla Group for gobs of money because of it. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I do think it's funny, ironic, however you want to put it, now that he won't tell his kids really to do what he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's raising them in a proper way. You can see some of those old Deegan things with Danger Boy, you know, like when Kitchen got hurt, it's like, okay, pick on someone else now. They always keep a rivalry.
Yeah.
And that was like the militia brand, you know, it's like militia against the straight edge guys.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you could see the Deegan model with the Danger Boy thing.
Yeah.
And luckily it works because Danger Boy's a pretty cool personality, but he's, you know, he's been taught, you know, he's been groomed, but Deegan's a really, really intelligent guy. Like when you get to know him, you can tell. I mean, his dad's a school teacher from Nebraska, super old school, you know, like you can tell there's that education in him. And he's, you know, look at him.
Yeah.
And he was talented. He was a good racer.
Yeah.
Good freestyler. Danger Boy's on another level because Brian knew what to do.
Right.
Brian knew what he lacked through his career. And dude, look at him. You know, obviously, you still got to have the talent, right?
Yeah.
But Hayden works hard. You know,
Yeah.
like that Carmichael kind of kid.
Yeah.
Grinds it out, and he can talk smack and back it up. So that'll sell on a Monday. You know.
Yeah.
So
it's cool to see that stuff now, though. Like kind of knowing some of the guys back in the day, and you see them now. It's funny. Miller sent me a photo the other day, and it was like, dude, fucking Twitch found this photo that had Twitch, and he was wearing a helmet, and it said "fuck Miller" on it.
Yeah, dude. The militia hated Miller.
Yeah.
Like in the early on. I remember when Kerry Hart got hurt, second year of Hawk Tour, Miller was on it, and they called Deegan to replace him because they needed that name. And both of us, because I had not known him yet, right? And we're like, oh shit, because at the time they were doing all that stuff because Miller was winning every event, crushing it, you know. And he was just a keep to yourself dude that people mistaked for cocky or arrogant or whatever, but he's just a quiet dude, and he would go out and crush it.
He reminds me of Cooper Webb.
Exactly like Cooper Webb.
Yeah.
Right. And then, and it's like that thing. I think they brewed that up on purpose because at the time Miller was the guy, and
then Nevada, and there was a group of Nevada guys coming up as well, and those were the SoCal militia guys. So
so. And I think it was one of Deegan's, you know, models that we need someone to pick on. So we're going to pick on that dude.
Yeah.
You know, because he's good. He's not part of any real clique. They had like a little clique they were trying to do or whatever, but it was honestly like genius, you know, and Twitch would do anything they told him to do.
Yeah.
He was the perfect guy for it, you know, so, and I think, in the beginning, they honestly didn't like how good he was.
Yeah.
You know, he was taking tricks, combos to a different level, and they probably just didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to sit and get high. And
that was before the flip. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was just like actual tricks. And Miller was on top of that.
I always say this about Miller. It's funny because he was so talented as a racer, but a little on the short side. And then he was so talented as a freestyler, but never got real he did flips and flip combos and whatever, like, but it was always like if he had a little height on him or maybe a little bit more drive, he would have been that next level in both racing and freestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, he was for a little while in freestyle, but then that flip happened. I think he got hurt, and then it kind of set him back, and he never really rebounded to back where he was, you know, because he was like, you know, he's beating Nate every weekend, you know.
Yeah.
If at that time, if you were just going upright tricks, dude, he slayed everybody. So, but he always like missed that little bubble he needed, whatever it may be. Not saying the height was the issue, but he was that little step away from being like next level at both.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, it's funny this weekend. I was telling my wife, because he was running first in his class, just smoking these kids. And I'm like, dude.
He's fast at Fernley too.
Dude. And he got a new Yami 450.
I saw that.
I was like, it must be so, well, maybe these kids don't understand, but it must be so depressing for them. And they probably don't get it. That this 40-year-old dude's out here just smoking you. He works all week and stuff like that, comes out, doesn't really ride that much, comes out here and just smokes you guys. And you guys are really trying to
be
something in racing.
1%, yeah.
And this guy comes out here and just is that good. So yeah, he's great on a dirt bike.
Oh yeah, one of the best. Like I've seen a lot of guys, and you know, he was my best friend growing up, but not just being biased towards it, but
yeah,
the results back then spoke for themselves. You know, and he got big deals. Man, I want to say there was something you have to ask him. Because he's that guy. He never says this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to him. But remember his Powerade deal?
Yeah.
That changed everything for the drinks.
Mm.
So when he had the Powerade helmet, that, like, you see all the helmets now? Like the energy drinks and whatever, they want the helmet, right? That deal was the first one done by corporate. Because at the time, I think Coca-Cola owned Powerade. And they did that deal with him, and they were the ones that are like, we don't care about the bike. Do whatever you want with the bike. We want your helmet.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird, like for what they were paying him at the time to go, for a helmet?
Yeah.
Okay. But now it's like a thing.
That's the thing.
So he was part of that change right there in that corporate world.
Dude, and he had everyone too, because he went from the Powerade to the Deluge, which was like AM, PM, whatever like that shit was.
Yeah.
Like he went into that, and you know, it's like at that time, I think some people were riding that Sobe.
Twitch had a Sobe deal. I think Pastrana might have had a Sobe deal.
And then kind of right after all that stuff, after Miller got that Deluge AM/PM deal, I think that's when the energy drinks started popping up.
When Mace was the first one to sign a Rockstar deal. Yeah, right around then. But yeah, that was crazy, especially for how young we all were back there. Like Miller signs a corporate drink deal, you know. It was cool. It's cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was phenomenal, dude. Like always. Do you have Twitch? All those dudes show up at Caneville. Twitch will tell you now. He's a humble dude.
Yeah.
Now, you know, he'll tell you like they're gonna wait for Miller to hit the jump. They're gonna wait for him to do it first. Has Miller hit it yet? Anyone hit it yet? Miller do it? His name was always there. You know, at contests back then when jumps were huge.
Yeah.
Or like a free ride spot at Caneville, dude, he would be the first one to send it.
Yeah.
He was like that on 80s, you know?
Yeah.
Just has that in him.
It's kind of a funny question, I think, but I just had Conway on. I think the episode will be up for anyone listening now. It's up. Go check it out. But you worked for Conway. You did a lot of stuff with him going to like amateur races. But dude, out of everyone that's growing up here that you see in race, for whatever reason they didn't make it. You know, we see like a Lux Turner now, and we talked about that, and he's kind of the only guy that's really doing what he's doing that's come out of this area. But out of everyone that you've seen, who do you think had the most potential to actually take it to, you know, like a top 5, top 10 Supercross or outdoors? But for whatever reason, they didn't make it.
The fastest, most creative guy I ever saw on a bike out of this area, no one will remember this, only a few, was Shane Esposito.
Really?
Yeah, he was insane on a bike. Like he did some stuff in desert racing, whatever, but yeah, just never. I wasn't close with Shane, but he was probably, when he showed up, you're like, oh, Espo's here.
Yeah,
it's done. But I don't know his story enough to know why he didn't.
Right.
But other than that, you had Justin Tierney that had a national number from here. Your boy Mace, was running like 12th at Millville and had a heat stroke and had to pull over because, his love for training. But I think Lux is up the bar for the local area. But I mean, racing, Lux is, there's no doubt he's the guy to do the most. Back in the day, I think there was a lot of dudes that had similar speed. Lux has decent help. He's earned it, obviously, but he's on a good team. There's a few guys that have come from here. The area is pretty deep. But both the Tierneys were good. Like I said, Justin had a national number. Like I said, with Miller, dude, there was something always there. If he just found that one little thing to make him click, like he by far, I don't know Lux's career enough to know how he did on 80s and super minis, but, Miller was top 5 with, the Ivan Tedesco's of the world and some of the elite 1% on minis, on super minis, so he was right there. But I hear all this stuff and to clear it up, like with the area, I hear certain rumblings and stuff, like, not taking anything away. Me and Lux's dad traveled together on arena cross. I actually got him a job with Travis Hodges working on bikes. He jumped in the van with me and Mace, and we hooked him up with Hodges and got him a traveling job, on a Yamaha team. But so we're tight and whatever. But I always hear stuff, not from them, in particular, but he's the only one from here that made it on a dirt bike. And it's like, in racing, he's done the best, but there's still a long way to go before you can make it. Dude, Mike Mason retired before he was 40. Yeah. And still doesn't have a job and plays golf every day. Let's compare it and see where, he's at. I hope the best for him, because I cheer for him every weekend, being a local kid and knowing his dad, knowing his family. But there's all that stuff you always hear, but it's like, you might forget. It was freestyle, whatever, but go watch some speed and style footage. Mason was fast on a track, so to hear that kind of stuff, I love people doing good from the area, but you can't help yourself but getting like, dude, what are you talking about?
Well, you got to give respect to the guys that came before you, and they're not the ones saying it, it's other people. But
it's local drama, but it's just coming on like something like this, being able to get to more people. Yeah, it's like, like there's been some bad dudes from this area. I mean, Sean Palmer's from right up the hill in Lake Tahoe, but everyone's too young to remember that. That dude exceeded at every sport and officially has had the best ride in motocross out of anyone from this area. He had a factory Honda ride in 2001. Yeah. And unfortunately got taken out in the first turn of the first moto at Glen Helen, but he probably would have done really, really good that year. He went out, trained with Carmichael, all that. But he had a factory Honda ride. And people are like, it was for promotion and stuff through Honda. But it's like, if you know the Japanese from Honda and what they deal with, they're not bringing Sean Palmer on just for publicity. Yeah. Because he's bad publicity. Yeah. Right? This tattooed dude. Like they were so corporate at the time. But they did it, and it was, some of it was PR and some of it was like, let's see how good you can be on a factory bike then. Yeah. You're this freak of nature athlete. Let's do it. And they did it as a partnership. And it probably would have been good, but as far as everyone in sports, in action sports in general from this area, that dude's done the most. No one can even touch him.
Yeah, for sure.
These
Yeah.
other dudes are one sport guys and have done really well and stuff, but no one made the name and had video games, you know, and all that. That dude was just incredible.
Yeah.
So this area has produced some bangers like Cam Zink,
Yeah.
you know, Adam Jones,
Yeah.
you know.
No, yeah. We talked about that last time with Conway, just a lot of extreme sports athletes out of this area.
Mm-hmm.
There's a dude right now that always kills it from Reno. I don't know if he's a skier or a snowboarder. I think his last name's Wise. I think.
Oh yeah,
David Wise or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
But he's always like medaling
Yep.
Olympics and like summer or winter X
Winter
games.
X and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, from Reno.
Yep.
You know, there's so many like when it comes to that. But you never hear like a football player or a soccer player come out of here. Which is,
has there been any?
Nah, no, I think there's been like 2 baseball players.
Oh yeah, Sean Estes.
Sean
He was
Estes
a pitcher
and,
for the Giants.
and Williams. He came out of Reno or Carson. What
Oh,
was
the
his name?
old Williams,
The
like
old-
Matt Williams or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
Old
yeah,
guy.
old school. Yeah.
Mhm. Those are like the only 2 like actual team sport guys that I
Right.
know
Well-
of or heard of. Or actually, Ayuk from 49ers went to Reed High School.
Who did?
That Ayuk guy? Or,
Oh, really?
yeah. From
Oh,
the 49ers?
He's not from here, but your boy Kaepernick went to UNR.
Yeah.
I mean,
He killed it at UNR.
but for this small area, I mean, it's just now getting bigger where we'll probably see more talent come in.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, dude. Like action sports, man, is deep.
Super
You
deep.
know, and I credit that to like back in the day, the local moto scene, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when Rob Hansen was doing Friday night races and stuff like that, and Ty doing the Stead deal. Like there was places to go race and ride, and it produced some pretty good talent
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, it'd be cool to see what Lux Turner can do here in the future, because he's still pretty young.
Yeah.
So, and he's up there.
Yeah, for sure. So everything that you've done in your whole career now, you know, you live many lives through a short span.
Mhm.
You've done a lot of stuff and
I'm
everything.
pretty old now.
Yeah, but what do you think? Like, if you could do if you know everything you know right now, and you can come into one thing and be like, "That's what I want to do as a career," what would it be? Doesn't even have to be the stuff that you've
Moto-related
done
or
or anything.
whatever?
Just everything that you've learned so far and that you know. But now you can go into a career and you're like, "That's what I want to do."
I don't know if I could pinpoint one. You know, I like being a business owner and stuff because I've kind of always run my own program, you know. But I think I bounced around so much, and it was kind of like that advice, like, "Oh, well, you're young, just do everything you can," which I won't take for granted, you know. But I think I bounced around so much, I really didn't stick somewhere long enough to like build a base and build like a real good tenure anywhere in specific. It is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But I think if there was one thing to do over, it'd be more consistent at one thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it's hard to grapple with that, because it's like, you know, if I did that, would I have ever stood on the Giza Plateau, you know, look at the pyramids at a dirt bike event? Or I just posted one on a throwback, you know, from Red Square in Russia. You know, all this stuff was super cool. So it's like, what do you give and take? Like, yeah, I'm no millionaire. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what I grapple with. I could have, you know, maybe set up a better life for my family and stuff if I would have stayed planted in one spot. But man, what do you do? You know?
Yeah. That's a tough one though, because if you say you got planted and you stayed in mechanic for moto, none of the freestyle stuff would have happened.
None of the freestyle stuff, and like I always kind of a dreamer, you know, like, you know, the band story and all that, but I was always like, yeah, and a dude I worked with, you know, doing X game or supermoto and supercross stuff like that, Lars, you know, he's a team manager for HRC now.
Yeah.
And he was kind of like me, but he was at Honda, but he just stayed at Honda.
Right.
He's like 30 years deep at Honda and just got that team manager gig.
Yeah.
You know, which probably pays decent, but I was always like, I don't want to settle for that. You know, maybe I should have, you know, for security, stability.
Yeah.
But I was always like, no, I want next level. And it always just kind of took me through these mazes of opportunities and stuff like that. But Yeah, I can't really say there's a huge regret of anything, you know. I'm thankful for the friends that helped me get there, you know, like a Miller, a Mason, stuff like that. Stuff would have never have happened, you know. So yeah, I would just say, you know, what I would like teach my kid now, you know, like pick something and be consistent with it, and you'll, you know, put the work and you'll succeed. Yeah. You know, so probably just something along those lines.
Yeah. But if you could pick like a job to do now out of everything, you know.
Dude, I'm so old. I just want a job in golf.
So you'd be a golfer? Or like
a golfer golf? Or like in the industry, you know, like I started re-gripping my own clubs and stuff, like doing the mechanical side, and like started nerding out like loft angles of clubs and stuff. Think like a job, like building. A fitter? Yeah, like building clubs for like top dudes or something. Because I look at it this way too. I'm like, man, I was laughing about this with my wife. I'm like, going back to the whole moto thing with the kid. It's like, dude, do we want to spend our Sundays out at Fernley in the wind, or I want to be at like a country club somewhere, watching golf? It's like, yeah, that. So, dude, right now, if I could pick a job, I'd land somewhere in golf. Like, I was stoked. I won. Everyone thinks it was hella rigged, and it wasn't.
I did see that.
I won this contest, and it was through one of Mace's affiliates, whatever. They were doing a contest. PGA memes to win a trip to the Masters. Dude, and I did everything. I posted every time. I shared the stories. I followed all their followers, whatever. And when he was going through to pick winners, I was in the group. And then it all came out that I knew Mace and that it was going to look rigged if he picked me. But I was, at the end of the day, I won this trip to the Masters, got to go.
Wait, so they knew it was going to look rigged? And did they bring that up to you, or they just didn't care?
They were worried about it.
Yeah.
They're like, dude.
Well, I saw you win too, and I'm like,
everyone's like, oh yeah, that ain't rigged or nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it was legit. I did everything, and I was in the group of
people that did everything.
Yeah, that of the final winners they were gonna pick. So I got to go there, and like, what's crazy is out of all the places I've been, all the, you know, cool stuff I've seen, whatever, being on the grounds at the Masters in Augusta is like never land, dude.
No way.
It's insane.
Dude, you were in Egypt on the pyramids.
I know, and it's gnarly, but like Augusta, when you're on property, it seems fake.
Yeah.
Like, dude, the bathroom, you know, you go to the bathroom and there's like everything's trimmed in gold. And like someone touches a door handle, there's like a dude in a black vest that comes and wipes it.
Damn.
Like it's so perfect and pristine. It's like fake, you know, and doing that. You know, that's another thing I got to do in this life, right?
So then you just went? Mace didn't go?
No, Mace went.
Oh, okay.
So we traveled together because the deal was so in the original deal, since I knew Mace and Mace was going, I was supposed to get a guest. So Mace basically was my guest, but he was already going. So we stayed with the PGA memes guy and all that and whatever. So it looked really rigged, but it wasn't really that rigged.
Yeah.
You know? But that was another cool experience because we got to Airbnb in a house. Those dudes are all tight with Jason Day, the pro golfer who used to be world number one, right? Yeah. And we stayed in an Airbnb with Day's caddy. And dude, I'm sitting, another surreal moment, like staring at the pyramids in Egypt, right? I'm on the couch, dude, sitting, you know, we're like right shoulder to shoulder, and I'm talking to Day's caddy about he's doing his yardage book for the next day and where to hit what shots, and if you land here, what shot we're going to do next. And he's planning the whole thing. And I'm like, dude, I'm at the Masters right now, like literally like sitting here watching Jason Day's day get planned.
Yeah.
Like from his caddy. And we're talking about air temperature. I'm starting to nerd out, you know, like air density and ball flight and talking all this stuff, you know. I was like, I got up to go to bed. I'm like, damn, that was pretty cool. It was sweet. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that was cool. But to go back to your original question, a job in golf somewhere would be sick. Be kind of cool.
Yeah. That would be cool. Caddy.
They make like a caddy. Because I started talking to days caddy about it, and I walked the course. Mace did a pro-am for the Barracuda, and I got to walk the course with them, you know, and the pro he was playing with, Joel Damon, I started rapping with his caddy because he was asking what we did. We were telling him the moto thing, and I was his mechanic, you know, for a lot of years. And he starts asking me questions, and he's like, so you're kind of like I am, but just with a bike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's like the same thing. He's like, so you're kind of like a babysitter, a life coach, all in one? I'm like, oh, yeah, at times, dude.
Yeah.
These guys get stressed out, and you're like trying to talk them off the ledge. He's like, dude, same. He'll just ruin around just because he's mad. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, it probably cost you guys a little bit more money than us, but it was sweet getting to do that too. So that right there, I'm like, yeah, dude, being on a nice golf course, walking around doing shit like that,
yeah,
it'd be fun.
Yeah,
it'd be a fun gig.
That'd be cool. So you're trying to get your kid into it?
Trying. He's got no interest right now, but I mean, good thing
he's pretty small.
Yeah, and riding dirt bikes and stuff. Like, hopefully we can just do the mini stage, because I do think it develops a lot of skills, coordination, whatever might carry into another sport. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll push for golf, but I know he's just going to keep wanting to ride bikes.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. Parents, it's endless. There's so many things to do, and just money to be made everywhere as far as like sports. You know, I was looking at a graph the other day, and it was like golf was on there, but I forget exactly what it was. But, you know, it's like hundreds of thousands if you go from like age whatever to this age, and your kid plays on a competitive team. This is how much you're spending a year.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I'm like, dude.
I get freaked out when I see those graphs. To raise a kid in 2025, it costs X amount. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
How am I going to even just make that?
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, those things freak me out.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But, yeah, I know what you're saying. Stuff gets expensive. Yeah, travel, baseball, soccer, any of it.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, dude, thanks for coming on. Those are, you know, it's great conversation.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's cool to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe we'll do another one, because I'm sure like you'll leave and you'll be like, oh, I could have talked about that and stuff like that. And I'm sure like anyone listening to this is probably like, damn, dude, those are some cool stories.
Yeah. No, there's plenty more. You know, there's 30 years of it. So anytime you want to dig them up,
yeah,
I'll tell you what I can, or about who, or working with whoever. You know? So.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. You want to say anything to anyone before you take off?
No, man. It's just a pleasure being here. I hope you guys check it out and keep the pod alive. We like it.
Hell yeah.
Keep it going.
All right. See you guys next week.
See ya.